The INFJ personality type is often called the advocate or the counselor. It's one of the rarest types in the world, making up less than 2% of the population. But being rare doesn't mean being simple. If you're an INFJ, you've probably heard about your deep empathy, intuition, and idealism. But there are sides of you that don't get talked about much. This video is for those quiet thoughts you've had but didn't know how to explain. Those weird patterns you've noticed in yourself that others don't see. These are not the usual traits found on personality test summaries. These are the strange, hard-to-describe sides of being an INFJ. People might admire your deep thoughts or your ability to read others, but they often miss the internal chaos that comes with it. You're probably great at giving advice, but struggle to ask for help. You might love people, but feel drained by them. You may want success, but not at the cost of your values. In this video, we'll break down 6 strange facts about INFJs that rarely get mentioned, but are completely real. These are the things that make you feel like you're different, even among other INFJs. We'll talk about your all-or-nothing drive, your trouble with settling, your quiet perfectionism, and your need for solitude even when you love someone. We'll also look at how you can feel like 2 people at once, and why writing feels more natural than speaking. So if you've ever felt misunderstood, even by people who know you well, stick around. You're about to feel very seen. Fact 1. All-or-nothing syndrome. INFJs are not halfway people. If they care about something, they care deeply. If they love with intensity. But when the connection or purpose fades, they don't hang around. They disappear, often without warning. This all-or-nothing mindset shows up in relationships, work, hobbies, and even friendships. Let's say an INFJ starts a new project. In the beginning, they'll give it everything. They'll plan it, research it, and pour hours into making it perfect. But the moment they feel the project doesn't match their values, or isn't going anywhere meaningful, they lose interest. Not slowly, completely. In relationships, it's the same. INFJs are not the type to casually date. They want deep soul-level connection. When they think they've found it, they go all in. But if that connection weakens or becomes surface level, they may quietly begin pulling away. They don't usually make a scene. They just slowly fade. And often, the other person doesn't even realize it's happening until it's done. This can confuse others and make the INFJ seem unpredictable. But to the INFJ, it makes perfect sense. They live by meaning. If something no longer carries emotional or moral value, they don't want to fake it. They would rather have nothing than something that feels empty. This behavior isn't laziness or coldness, it's integrity. INFJs hold themselves to high standards of purpose. They would rather quit than go through the motions. But here's the catch. This all-or-nothing mindset can be exhausting. It can make INFJs jump from one thing to another, always chasing the right fit. It also makes it hard to rest in the middle ground, where things are just okay. Still, this strange trait is part of what makes INFJs passionate, driven, and deeply authentic, even when the world doesn't get it. Fact 2. Inability to settle. One of the most confusing traits for an INFJ is their constant sense of restlessness. On the outside, they may seem calm or even settled, but inside, there's often a quiet storm. They are always questioning whether they're on the right path, doing enough, or truly living in alignment with their purpose. INFJs crave meaning. This means a job that pays the bills isn't always enough. A relationship that's good but not deeply emotional won't feel right. A lifestyle that looks stable might still feel empty to them. And that's why they have a hard time settling. They don't just want a career. They want to help people, fix broken systems, or create something that speaks to the soul. They don't just want love. They want to feel deeply seen, understood, and connected. When these needs aren't met, INFJs may stay physically present but mentally checked out. Or they may leave completely and start over. This trait can lead to a lot of change in an INFJ's life. They may try different career paths, travel often, or change living situations more than most. It's not because they're flaky or indecisive. It's because they're always looking for a deeper kind of peace, a sense that they're truly in the right place. Sometimes this constant pursuit of the perfect fit can become a trap. INFJs might feel like nothing is ever good enough. They may fear committing to something because they worry they'll eventually feel stuck. This fear can hold them back, even from opportunities that could grow into something meaningful over time. On the other hand, this trait also keeps INFJs true to themselves. They're not likely to fake happiness or stay in a situation just because it's safe. They will keep searching, learning, and growing until they find what feels real to them. It might take time, but when INFJs do find that path or person that feels aligned, they stick with it deeply. Their loyalty and commitment become unshakable, not because they finally settled, but because they finally felt home. Fact 3. Perfectionism. INFJs are often perfectionists, but not in the typical everything has to be tidy kind of way. Their perfectionism goes deeper. It's tied to their identity and sense of worth. They don't just want to do well, they want to live with purpose, make an impact, and do things the right way. Anything less feels like failure. This can be motivating. INFJs tend to be high achievers. They care about details, think ahead, and work hard to make their efforts meaningful. But this drive also comes with pressure. A lot of pressure. They often set unrealistically high standards for themselves. If they don't meet them, they feel disappointed, not just in the outcome, but in themselves. They internalize failure and take it personally. For example, if they start a blog, they won't just want it to succeed. They'll want it to be powerful, unique, emotionally moving, and they might drop it completely if they think it falls short. INFJs are also their own worst critics. They replay conversations in their heads, wondering if they said the right thing. They hesitate to share their work unless it's perfect. This need for perfection can stop them from finishing creative projects, applying for jobs, or even opening up to others. Ironically, they are much more forgiving of others than they are of themselves. They will understand and comfort someone who makes a mistake. But when it comes to their own slip-ups, they can be harsh and unforgiving. This perfectionism can also make INFJs overthink everything. Decisions become harder because they want the best, most meaningful option every time. This slows them down and can lead to burnout. But perfectionism isn't all bad. When managed, it helps INFJs create beautiful, thoughtful work. It makes them reliable and trustworthy. They just need to learn when good enough is truly enough, and that mistakes are part of the process, not proof of failure. Their hearts are in the right place. They want to do right by others and by their own values. The key is to give themselves the same grace they offer so freely to everyone else. Fact 4. Solitude versus friendship. INFJs are often seen as warm, caring, and deeply loyal friends. But what people don't always understand is how much solitude they need. This can create a strange tension. They want connection, but they also need a lot of alone time to recharge. It's not a contradiction, it's part of how they're wired. When INFJs spend time with people they care about, they're fully present. They listen deeply, ask thoughtful questions, and genuinely want to understand the other person's feelings. But after a while, even those meaningful interactions can feel overwhelming. Their energy gets drained quickly, even when the people around them are kind and respectful. So they retreat. They disappear into their own space, not because they're upset or avoiding anyone, but because they need to process everything. Being around others stirs up a lot of thoughts and emotions for INFJs, and they need time alone to sort through it all. To outsiders, this can seem confusing. Some friends may wonder why an INFJ suddenly goes quiet or turns down invitations. But to the INFJ, it's a necessary reset. Without it, they feel overstimulated and emotionally foggy. This balance is tricky. INFJs value deep friendships and long for emotional closeness, but their need for solitude often limits the number of people they can stay close with. That's why many INFJs keep a small, tight-knit circle of friends. They're not antisocial, they're selective. They'd rather have 2 deep friendships than 20 surface-level ones. When they do find the right people, those who respect their space, understand their silence, and don't take it personally, they become incredibly loyal. They will show up when it matters, and they'll remember the smallest details about you. But they need the freedom to step back now and then without being questioned or guilted. The strange part, INFJs can sometimes feel lonely even when surrounded by others, and other times they feel perfectly fine being alone for days. It's not about the number of people in their lives, it's about the depth of connection and the ability to breathe. For INFJs, solitude isn't isolation. It's where they recharge, reflect, and reconnect with themselves so they can come back to others more fully present and emotionally alive. Fact 5. Full of contradictions. If you've ever felt like you're two people living in one body, you're not alone, and you might be an INFJ. This personality type is full of contradictions, and that's part of what makes them so complex and hard to understand, even to themselves. INFJs are introverts, but they can act like extroverts when needed. They can lead a group, give a speech, or light up a conversation. But afterward, they'll need hours or even days to recover. They care deeply about people, but often keep their own struggles hidden. They want to be seen, but fear being truly known. This dual nature can make life confusing. For example, INFJs can be very emotional, but they also have strong logical thinking skills. They can cry during a movie and then analyze political systems in the same evening. They can write poetry one day and develop a long-term life plan the next. One moment they crave closeness, the next they push people away. They love deep talks but may avoid phone calls. They're dreamers with a practical streak, idealists who prepare for the worst. All of this makes them seem like walking paradoxes. This inner conflict can cause stress. INFJs often feel misunderstood, even by people who love them. They struggle to explain why they feel a certain way, because they themselves are still figuring it out. This can lead to overthinking, self-doubt, and even guilt, especially when their actions don't match their intentions. They also tend to change depending on who they're with. It's not because they're fake, it's because they naturally adjust to others' energy, moods, and needs. They mirror people emotionally, and that can blur the lines of who they are when they're alone. Despite all this, INFJs are not unstable. They just live with a deep and layered personality. They see life through many lenses at once, and that gives them insight, empathy, and creativity. But it also makes them harder to define. If you've ever thought, I don't even fully understand myself, take comfort. You're not broken. You're just complex. That richness is part of what makes the INFJ so rare, so deep, and so unforgettable. Fact 6. Writers, not talkers. Many INFJs struggle to express themselves clearly in conversation, especially when put on the spot. Their minds move fast, full of layered thoughts, emotions, and mental imagery. But when it's time to speak, words can feel clumsy or incomplete. It's not that they have nothing to say, it's that they have too much to say and no clear path to say it. This is why writing often feels more natural to them. On paper or screen, they can slow down, organize their thoughts, and fully express what they mean. They're able to go deep, be honest, and share the full scope of what's going on in their minds, something that's hard to do in fast-paced conversations or social situations. Writing gives INFJs control. They can revise, delete, and reflect. It feels safer than talking, where responses are expected right away. In writing, they're able to say the exact right thing in the exact right way, and that kind of precision matters to them. This trait can show up early in life. Many INFJs keep journals, write poems, or send long, thoughtful text instead of having emotional talks face-to-face. They might also enjoy creative writing, blogging, or storytelling, not for attention, but because it helps them make sense of the world. In social settings, INFJs might come across as quiet or reserved, but that doesn't mean they lack opinions or feelings. Often, they're simply filtering through everything internally, deciding what's worth sharing out loud. Unfortunately, this can lead to misunderstandings. People may assume INFJs don't care or aren't engaged, when in truth, they're just choosing their words carefully. On the flip side, if an INFJ feels truly safe with someone, they may talk more openly. But it usually takes time to reach that level of trust. Even then, some of their most powerful thoughts may still come through in letters, messages, or creative outlets. So if you're an INFJ who's ever felt frustrated after a conversation, or wished you could have said more, know that you're not alone. Your voice isn't weak, it's just written in a different form, and often your truest self comes out, not through what you say, but through what you write. Being an INFJ isn't always easy. You live with depth, contradictions, intensity, and quiet strength. You love deeply, think deeply, and feel like you're on a constant search for truth and meaning. The world may not always understand you, but that doesn't mean you're broken or strange. It just means you're rare. The 6 facts we've shared today aren't flaws. They're signs of how complex and beautifully layered you are. If anything in this video resonated with you, take a moment to appreciate your mind, your heart, and your way of being. The world needs more people like you, even if it doesn't always say it.